Amers! Welcome back to the Retro Review, the nostalgic series where we review games of a particular month, this month being February, the shortest month of the year, this year actually being a leap year as an FYI. And on top of that, we are looking back from 30 years ago to 20 years ago to 10 years ago to 5 years ago. So we're going from nostalgia, retro, all the way up to close to modern day. So let's get to it. There's some familiar names here without a doubt for you, some familiar series and faces that may have appeared in previous retro reviews. But until then, guys, let's get to it. I hope you enjoy what I have in store for you today. 30 years ago.
And comfort.
You know that little red spot on the 7-Up products? Did you know that it was 7-Up's mascot for a very long time until the mid-90s? And did you know that they once tried to get this mascot to branch out into video games? Yeah, this is when companies that owed major consumer products were still hoping video games could do what TV did for the Care Bears and California Raisins. Released to Super Nintendo on February 24th, 1994, Cool Spot was a platforming game featuring the 7-Up mascot known only as Cool Spot because he was so cool. The game was single player and Cool Spot could make bubbles to attack enemies and use them to jump to reach higher objects and platforms. Like most earlier platforming system games, each level had a goal point to reach before the timer ran out. There were also bonus stages if Cool Spot managed to collect enough spots throughout the level, which were captured in cages. These games caused a small legal controversy though due to regional licensing of Cool Spot and 7-Up's slogan of Oncola, as PepsiCo owned the licensing to Cool Spot in regions like the EU, causing the use of 7-Up bottles to be removed, and also changed the name of the slogan of Oncola to the name of the studio making the game in the first place, which was Virgin in the EU releases. And moving on to a very well known title, Sonic 3, which was released on February 2nd, which was also apparently Groundhog's Day as Sega rebranded it Hedgehog's Day as part of the release and ad campaign. Now Sonic 3 was one part of two game cartridge releases between Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, which could be played separately to get the original narratives but could also be connected to get the Sonic 3 and Knuckles game narrative to get the full story over 3 games overall, and this was insane for use in 1994. Sonic 3 was the first game to feature Knuckles into the storyline, but rather than have him as a playable character, he starts off as an enemy after Dr. Robotnik tricks Knuckles into thinking Sonic and Tails are out to steal the Master Emerald from Angel Island in order to give Robotnik enough time to repair his Death Egg. Just as an FYI, this Death Egg is the space station Sonic destroyed in Sonic 2. Kinda like the Death Star, but you know, Sonic. As Sonic approaches Angel Island, Knuckles steals the Chaos Emeralds from Sonic, so he needs to get them back now too, giving Robotnik even more time to finish his work. And in each level, it's a lot like Sonic and Sonic 2, which featured side-scrolling 2D graphics requiring the player to gather rings, destroy enemies and reach the goal, or fight a boss at the end of each level and zone until you get to the final zone. If you collect enough rings and keep them to the end of the levels, you will get a bonus round and a chance to get back one of the Chaos Emeralds. After you beat Robotnik and he escapes once more, because of course he does, Knuckles discovers Sonic is really the good guy and joins up with him, leading into Sonic and Knuckles' portion of the story narratives from the games. The game was pretty much identical to Sonic and Sonic 2 in terms of gameplay and style, however there were several new features, mainly in the addition of new power-ups like Bubble or Bounce Shield that let you use the bubble to bounce around and stay underwater without drowning, because we all love underwater levels in Sonic, right? I will never get over my PTSD of running out of breath in a Sonic game. Just saying. As well as my personal favourite addition, the electrostatic shield that drew nearby rings to you. What a shocking blast. Released on February 7th, 1994 is Warrior Land, Super Mario Land 3 for the Game Boy. This game, along with Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins, where our research team's Matt spent his childhood on long car rides or when staying at a family member's house with no console, which was a lot of his childhood in the 90s, and mine as well. Warrior Land was the first introduction to the Warrior Games series and had an iconic ad campaign to shamelessly butter up the fandom into loving Wario as much as Mario, and it worked on me. The gameplay was similar to Super Mario Land 2 for Game Boy, where it was non-linear and the player could choose between several worlds, each with 3 to 5 levels, and a boss fight to gain tokens that unlock access to the endgame world and levels. If you lose all your lives and get a game over, you also lose the tokens from each level to gain access to the endgame and have to fight the bosses in each world to regain them. Which was such a great feeling, wasn't it? Yeah, you know, repeating what you already done. Classic 90s. Similar to Mario, in Mario Land 2, Wario's powers change depending on what helmet he is wearing, like the dragon helmet that allowed Wario to use firepower in a flamethrower type of attack. Warrior Land also featured some changes from the typical Mario Land / World games, where coins were used as actual currency to unlock exits and checkpoints in levels, as well as allow Wario to use a 10-piece coin as a weapon by tossing it at enemies, and lives were gained by collecting heart points rather than coins. You know, slight differences to just make them slightly different characters because, well, that's what they were. Get it? Wario? War? Okay, I'll show myself out. Hey guys, if I can ask for a favor, most of you who watch my YouTube channel are not yet subscribed or press the like button. Trust me, it will help me out more than you know, and I aim to earn it. So please hit the like button to help the YouTube algorithm to promote my videos into the future and to see more gaming content and yours truly. Thank you for your time and your support. Now, on with the episode. 20 years ago. Released on February 10th, 2004, Champions of Norath is an RPG in the EverQuest franchise. Full game name is Champions of Norath, Realms of EverQuest, you know, just to make it as long as frickin' possible, and was built on the same engine as Baldur's Gate 2 Dark Alliance, which featured in last month's episode. Go and check it out if you haven't already. The game is divided into 5 acts and has you starting with a storyline having you help the elves in a war against orcs, and eventually has you going into the underworld to fight vampires and eventually a demon known as the God of Hate. The whole game gives major Tolkien-esque meets Diablo vibes. Wait, that's just Diablo. Okay, it just gives us Diablo vibes. Simple as that. Each playable character had unique skill trees and roles in the party that could be leveled as the game progressed, and though it was labelled as an RPG, it is usually described more as a hack and slash linear game with RPG mechanics. During the opening sequence, the player selects a race, appearance and skills. From there, the game continues to follow classic RPG standards as the player fights monsters, explores forests, towns, godly domains and dungeons, obtains gold to purchase weapons, and so on. You get it. As the player gains experience, he or she will level up and increase character statistics and abilities. You know, the usual stuff. These abilities can then be enhanced via the ability tree, which offered players more flexibility in choosing skills, chiefly because points may be invested in several choices at once. Many dungeons in Champions of Norath featured a boss or a large group of enemies that must be defeated to advance or obtain a special item to advance the storyline further. It is possible to import and export characters, which allowed players to save or load a character anywhere in the game while keeping the statistics and items of that character, which was a really cool feature at the time, which also featured in games such as Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2. Once again, we featured that on last month's retro review. Go and watch it, guys. Watch it, damn you. Watch it. Characters also included the Barbarian Warriors, Wood Elf Rangers, High Elf Clerics, Erudite Wizards, and Dark Elf Shadow Knights. Each came in male and female varieties, or nowadays would have been known as Type 1 and Type 2 body types. which have no impact on gameplay other than appearance. The game was met with favourable reviews at the time. Personally, I have spent many hours playing this game. I've played every single class as well and completed the game with all of these classes trying to obtain all their best gear at the same time. Yeah, I really did get my money's worth back then. Indeed. Yes, I know, the last game was an EverQuest game too. But that was a standalone for PlayStation, and this was part of the true EverQuest PC MMORPG sensation of the early 2000s, and I make the rules here, let that be known. Released February 9th, 2004, this was an expansion to the PC game EverQuest, released in 1999, and featured 18 new zones all located on a new continent called Telosia. It also introduced the Berserker class to the game and also made some updates and additions to various menu and crafting features. The expansion was originally released to a lot of fan criticism as the expansion featured all high-level zones and mobs that would require large groups of high-level players, but groups of max-level parties would still wipe. Players estimated that mobs were more in the range of a level 70 player, which was not reachable at the time. After a somewhat failed launch, the developers and fans held a summit to figure out how they could fix the expansion, which eventually resulted in the mobs being scaled back in strength and the level cap being raised to 70 for players. That just goes to show that when developers work with their fans, great things can happen. Well done, EverQuest. Released on February 9, 2004 for GameCube, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles was the first Final Fantasy game to come to Nintendo in a decade, since Final Fantasy VI. After the box office flop of Final Fantasy Spirits Within caused a major financial crisis for Square, they rushed out to create a shell company called Designer Studios that would allow them to produce Final Fantasy material outside of PlayStation's exclusive contract without actually violating it. The game is set 1000 years after an alien meteorite carrying a being called the Meteor Parasite from another world shattered the Great Crystal and began poisoning the world with a vapor called miasma, which kills everything on contact. Only shards of the Great Crystal can ward off the miasma, so survivors must keep the shards, and they require a supply of myrrh, like gold, frankincense, and myrrh, from the Jesus biblical story, collected from magical trees by the Tippa caravans. Our main character is part of these caravans that recently discovered and recontacted the Carbuncle people, an ancient race that helped guide the other 3 races of the world, now in hiding since the Great Crystal was destroyed. After hearing the stories of the Tippa and other races of the world, the Carbuncle people ask them to lift the local source of the miasma, which also happens to be the main source and home of the Meteor Parasite, which once again was an alien being. While on this task, the caravan is transported to another realm inhabited by 2 metaphysical entities that were born when the Great Crystal and Meteor collided. Guess who they represent, people? Just guess. After these 2 merge, we get the game's main boss fight, and go! After the boss fight is finished, the 2 separate and fade out of existence, and the caravan is transported back to their physical realm, where a now weakened and injured Meteor Parasite can be destroyed, freeing the world of the miasma vapors so the races can rebuild society properly. 10 years ago, Final Fantasy Lightning Returns, the Final Fantasy sequel no one asked for, no one wanted, and apparently almost no one liked, which was released on February 11th, 2014. Lightning, the female badass protagonist of Final Fantasy XIII, returns, get it, in a not so badass conclusion to the Final Fantasy XIII saga. The game has Lightning awakened from crystal stasis and told the world will end in exactly 13 days, and the reason for her awakening is to be the savior that will free the humans of their emotional burdens and come to live in a new world built for them by the god Bunavelza. Not sus at all. Lightning, guided by Hope, yes, Hope, he's back again, because of course he is, then returns to the world and gets to reunite with her old party as her missions progress to free them of their emotional burdens. Fang helps Lightning locate an artifact in the desert, Snow attempts to become a Seath to save Sarah and fight Lightning before she can explain she's already saved Sarah, and a bunch of other stuff like this. Noel, Caius, Etros and Yule from Final Fantasy XIII-2 also make an appearance in addition to the original party members from 13 such as Hope, Vanille, Fang, Saz, Snow, etc. Eventually it is finally revealed to Lightning that Hope was just Bunavelza spying on Lightning to ensure a ritual mentioned in the first act with Fang and Vanille is carried out so he can take the souls of humanity and place Lightning in Etros' place, causing the fatal time loop we see in Final Fantasy XIII-2. This results in the penultimate boss fight to free Hope and gain access to the Unseen Realm. Yeah guys, I know this is very convoluted because of course it is. After this fight, Lightning, now in the Unseen Realm, calls for help to defeat the final boss and Benevelza in his physical form, to which Fang, Snow, Hope, Vanille, Noel, and even the Idolines all unite with Lightning and defeat him for good because, the power of friendship and souls and all that jazz that they love to do. After the fight, we are treated to a final cutscene showing all the freed souls of humanity, including Sarah's and the rest of our NPC friends, head to the new world, leaving behind Caius. The many versions of Yule and the Idolines remain in the Unseen Realm to balance time in Etros' place, breaking the doom cycle of the Goddess of Time. By the way, did I mention that's who Etro was, the Goddess of Time? Because of course she is. And look, let's just move on from this convoluted piece of shit because no one cares. Next. Released for the PlayStation 4 February 4, 2014, this game features 2 side stories that join together to give you the whole narrative of what is happening in Outlast. In the first part of the game, you play as a freelance investigative journalist known as Miles, who gets an email telling you about unethical human experiments happening at the asylum on Mount Massive. Yes, massive like my tits. Upon arriving at the asylum, Miles discovers the lobby is the scene of a mass slaughter and has been ransacked, while in the security room, Miles is knocked unconscious and brought into the hospital. Miles must now escape this hospital and avoid the many dangers that include mad patients on the loose and a ghost-like being called the Wall Rider. Over the course of his escape attempts, he discovers that the head researcher at the hospital has also been taken prisoner by this Wall Rider and is actually an experiment gone wrong. The Wall Rider is a swarm of nanite boots being controlled by a comatose patient named Billy Hope on life support, because of course it is. Miles is now being told by the head researcher that if he pulls the plug on Billy, this should also kill the Wall Rider. And after finally pulling the plug on Billy, Miles is attacked once more by the Wall Rider, because of course he is. And this results in Miles being the next new host for the Wall Rider to survive. The second portion of the game is called Whistleblower, and it has you now playing as Waylon Park, a software engineer working for the asylum's parent corporation, Murkoff. Doesn't sound like Microsoft at all, does it? Waylon has been working on a morphogenetic engine that will help in an experiment involving lucid dreaming, which is what made the Wall Rider from Billy's comatose mind after all. After discovering the real implication of the technology he has helped make, he sends an email to Miles. Waylon's email is discovered by the Murkoff people and is taken prisoner. He awakes in the hospital shortly after the Wall Rider has begun its ransacking and slaughter and now needs to escape. Similar to Miles, he must now avoid the numerous dangers he will encounter in the hospital as he makes his way to the exit. Waylon eventually makes it to the exit and finds a jeep in the parking lot, the same jeep Miles arrived in, just as an FYI, and escapes as Miles, which remember is now the new host of the Wall Rider, appears in the hospital's doorway. The epilogue shows Waylon preparing to upload proof of everything. Another LEGO game, and this is the LEGO Movie video game released on the 7th of February 2014. The LEGO Movie video game is pretty much a game that is as advertised. It is a video game version of the LEGO Movie, because of course it is. You play through various levels that are interactive adaptations of scenes from the movie. Each level features different special LEGO licensed playsets such as Batman, Princess Oni Kitty, etc. to explore the world and the universe of the LEGO movie. The key differences in this LEGO game compared to past games are character types between regular and master builders to drive the levels forward. A regular builder requires a full LEGO instruction guide in order to build things needed to finish the levels, and a master builder can build from the random piles, so both your master builder characters and regular builder characters have a special purpose. The game itself did not receive the best of reviews from fans, and critics only sit it at about 65% rating, as the game was very repetitive and cited as being the kind of boring by IGN on release. And you know, if IGN says that, well damn, that is something truly worth avoiding. But I bet that did not stop them from giving it a 7, because of course they did. Well, technically 6.5, but who's counting? 5 years ago. You're Not Special, released on February 11, 2019. Only the Chosen One can defeat the great forces coming to destroy your kingdom and home. The only issue is that you're not the Chosen One, you're just a peasant with things to do. The game features a mostly non-competitive puzzle-based text-rich narrative that allows you to either help fulfill the Chosen One's destiny or not, because why not? The story results in one of several endings based on the choices you make throughout the game and how much of the Chosen One's lore you have uncovered. This is intended to be a short play game that features major replayability, as the choices you make do not only change the ending to the game, but also changes how each level plays out. And that's why also a short game also gets a short review. And that's just how the cookie crumbles, people. Also, by the way, the title kinda hurts. It tells me that I'm not special, but I honestly believe I am. My mom says I'm cool, okay? I'm special. Released on February 14th, 2019, Stardrop is a single-player interactive sci-fi cinematic experience set in space where you play as Aaron, Vance, and her partner John, Kidney, as salvage and rescue operative team. The game's main story revolves around the discovery of a long-lost ship and the investigation into what happened to the crew, but also features a massive selection of optional side quests that allow you to explore the Stardrop universe and learn even more secrets. The majority of the gameplay is done in an interactive exploration narrative-driven cinematic, but it also includes some puzzle and even stealth gameplay to add to the interactivity over the 4 chapters of the game. This doesn't sound like much in terms of a summary, but keep in mind this is an indie title made by a very small team that launched a production company from a startup that went viral, making this title an impressive hit and one we recommend you check out if you're a fan of cinematic-driven sci-fi games. Also released on February 14th, because of course it is, and since we all do love Valentine's Day, because of course we do, this is a real world and Shonen Jump world crossover that features characters from the Shonen Jump manga series, including Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, and One Piece. The good guys from each series join together with you, an original character you designed that is from our world, to form the Jump Force, with Director Glover and the AI called Navigator to fight a mysterious force of beings called the Venoms, joined by the bad guys from each Jump anime series attacking real-world cities looking for an artifact that will join the universes together forever. You hear that, people? Forever. One of us, one of us. Over the course of the game, the Jump Force discovers that cybernetic devices called Umbra Cubes are being used to merge the universes together and are responsible for turning evil-hearted people into the Venoms, as well as mind control some of the other heroes with their dark energy that you must free and recruit to join the Jump Force. You eventually reveal that Glover is the main villain called Prometheus and has been using the force of the Jump Force and the Venoms to merge the worlds. After defeating Prometheus, the Jump Force expected the worlds to return to normal. However, they do remain merged, leaving our world under the threat from the Jump villains, because of course they did. Before the heroes of the Jump worlds leave to return to their own homes to protect their people, they recommend your real world character take over as leader of the Jump Force to protect our world like the other heroes in their own worlds. And I guess that's it. Yeah. My unicorn gamers, that is it. We are done with February. Another retro review for the history books from 30 years ago all the way up until 5. Let's see what March has in store for us. If there is anything you'd like to add, feel free to comment down below. Tell us what your favorite games are, what nostalgia, or maybe games we may have missed out, or what you're looking forward to coming up maybe in March. If you have any feedback, let us know as well. But until then, guys, thank you so much for watching today. Thank you for hanging out with me. And remember, if no one has told you this today, remember, you are special, you are unique, because you are a freaking unicorn, god damn it. And also, if no one else has told you this today, I love you. Until next time, guys, Sláinte.